A feel-good win at Citi Field for what feels like the first time in months, and it couldn't have happened in a bigger game. Joe Henry post-game from Queens after an 11-3 Mets win in their grand return home and against the guys they're chasing, the Philadelphia Phillies. Coming home after a gut-wrenching Game 3 loss to Atlanta are the Mets, looking at a bad pitching matchup tonight and as tense a moment as we felt all season. New York today climbs out of a deficit and finds a way to stamp themselves in the win column. We've talked all year about good team wins. The games that good teams find ways to win, as ugly or as imperfect as they may be, tonight was one of those games. A lot about this game was ugly. Senga goes just 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, all earned, walked 3 men, hit a guy, 93 pitches in those 4 innings. It wasn't pretty, but there's a legit chance that he exits this game having allowed 0 runs. The very first play of this game, Trey Turner hits a double to center that becomes a triple because Tyrone Taylor tries to catch it on a head-first dive. He frankly wasn't close. It gives Turner an extra base. He easily scores despite 3 straight Philly outs after that. 1 inning later, the exact opposite happens, but the exact same result comes of it. Soto opts not to lay out for a looper that it looks like he could have made a sliding grab on, and 2 men score. All 3 runs allowed by Senga from those 2 plays. That's how brutal those outfield miscues were. And you have to feel for a guy in Senga that's been battling to get back to form for so long and just hasn't hit that next gear yet. Luckily, he did have some run support, to say the least, and it came in the form of a huge 4th inning in which the Mets came alive, yes, but Christopher Sanchez kind of just fell apart out of nowhere. I mean, first 3 frames, his sinker change combo was killing righties, and then against lefties, he was drawing chase with the slider. He was having his way, as you'd expect for a guy that's maybe been the second best pitcher in the entire National League this year. And as the wheels came off for Sanchez, there was nothing necessarily uncharacteristic about it. He wasn't suddenly giving up these bombs, but just a bunch of hard contact on a line, on the ground, through the infield. This is a pitch-to-contact guy losing his grip on his secondary stuff. I thought his changeup and his slider, which were so effective early, just started getting left middle, not getting that last bit of cut to get under barrels, and the Mets started pulling these pitches. I mean, they were ready for them, and they explode in that 4th inning. 8 batters come up to bat. 7 of them hit the ball harder than 90 miles an hour. The one guy that didn't, Tyrone Taylor, who walked. Soto singled, Alonso singled, Vientos doubled and had another huge game. Nimmo singled, McNeil singled. 3 runs come in after all that and tie this game. Sanchez threw only 21 pitches in the inning, but that's how much the Mets were attacking, jumping on pitchers early in ABs and to great success, and it didn't stop. Sanchez walked 2 guys in the 5th, brought out Mark Vientos, another double. This one to give New York the lead. Sanchez stays out for the 6th. How about the bottom of the order coming through? Tyrone Taylor, who looked so good at the plate today, hit a double. Then Luis Torrens scorches a double of his own to the gap in right center. Mets would eventually go up 6-3 in the frame. At this point, game in the hands of the bullpen. So much to be said about their struggles, but Castillo, Rogers, and Raleigh combined for 3 perfect innings. Brings us to the 7th, where the Mets bats, who had been hot all day, boiled over, and it all came pouring out onto Citi Field. The guy who did it, Luis Torrens, the unluckiest hitter in the sport, cashed in all of his good karma on a rocket of a 3-run homer to right, making it 10-3. It didn't stop there. More big knocks. Taylor, McNeil, Torrens eventually make it 13-3. How about the bottom 5 men in this order for the Mets today going 11 for 20? Unreal output from guys you've desperately needed it from. There's some ridiculous stats from this game. 11 hits with runners in scoring position for New York. And Philly got the first 6 hits of this game. Then the Mets got the last 14. Luis Torrens finished 3 for 5. Those 3 hits all in a row, all with runners in scoring position, and all knocks to the opposite field. He talked through a translator about his success postgame.
Sí, bueno, yo creo que dejar la pelota llegar lo más posible y mantener ese approach. Yo creo que eso siempre ha sido mi éxito cuando estoy por allá y bueno, eso es lo que estoy tratando de buscar y encontrarlo.
Yeah, I think the game plan for me is to let the ball get it deeper, and I think that's always been a strong suit of my game. So that's really been the plan and the approach for me is when I'm able to hit it the opposite field, that's when I've had the most success.
Just a momentous win to kick off a week-long homestand against a couple of division rivals. This is the biggest week of the season so far, and it's where this team figures out if it's turned the corner or if this nearly 2-month slump is not quite over yet. The early returns look good, especially doing it against one of the best teams in baseball and one of the best pitchers in baseball. New York entered the series down 7 games in the divisional race. Now they cut it to 6. They effectively need to sweep the series to keep things close enough to compete with Philly, and this is a huge start. It also gives them a 2-game cushion in the wild card race over Cincinnati. That's big, but they're going to need to keep the momentum up tomorrow. A 7:10 first pitch from Queens. Brendan Shorey will have you covered for FUV. Sean Manaea will take the bump for the Mets. But at least for a few hours in Met World, we can relish in one of the best feeling wins of this season. As we say so long from your WFUV Sports postgame show, I've been Joe Henry.